Well, good morning. Happy Saturday. Pretty sure today is Saturday. I had a very busy week. That was all good things. My friend's book came out. I got to go to one prep evening and then 2 events for her book release this past week, which was so much fun. But now I am feeling like I need to focus on my own stuff again. And part of that is lowering my word count. I feel like I have very high expectations for working on this new book project just because I've been editing DE for the last several years. And when you're editing, you can get a lot more words done in a day most of the time than you can with drafting, or at least than I can with drafting. And I am recently awake, so my voice is still waking up. So I was talking to one of my friends yesterday and talking about the idea of lowering my daily word count goal to hit it more frequently, but then also leave the possibility of surpassing that word count goal and writing a lot more because I'm writing more consistently, but also the barrier to entry is lower, and then I don't feel like I haven't done enough if I still hit that lower word count threshold. And I think this is just a way for me to exercise being really kind to myself as I'm starting to work on a new project after so long not drafting. So my new word count goal I think is gonna be 200 words a day because that seems attainable. If I sit down for half an hour, I'll almost definitely hit that. And so I think that's going to be my new goal. I do have a couple of other things I also want to get done today, and then I have some social plans this evening, but my goal is 200 words on the Veil project. I'm currently having my breakfast smoothie, and then I'll go to the gym. I want to sit down for 30 minutes and film a new YouTube video, and then I want to go to the library and I want to get my 200 words in for the day. Video has now been filmed, which means that I worked out, filmed my video, and now it's time to go write 200 words at the library. I think I spent an hour and a half there, and I was gonna sit down and work on Project Veil, and then I realized that I had started handwriting part of chapter 2 of Project Veil in my notebook, so I ended up typing up that and then part of something else, and ended up typing up 750 words while I was sitting there. And then I went into my Project Veil document, and then I ended up adding 373 words in my Project Veil, but I only added a little bit to chapter 2. I was also working on my elevator pitch. I've never started a story with the elevator pitch in mind, but I have an idea for this one. I think the idea is much more concise than some of my other projects. So I wanted to write down my elevator pitch so that I also, as I'm writing it, don't deviate too far from that. That concept kind of comes from one of Anna New's videos because apparently she writes a book blurb before she starts writing a new story. And I love that concept just to kind of keep things succinct, make sure that you know how to pitch it well, basically, and that the opportunity for pitching stays succinct. So I worked on my elevator pitch, and I think that turned out pretty well. Obviously, it's a rough draft. I only worked on it for 5 minutes, but I wrote an elevator pitch, which was exciting. I consolidated my plot points for what I want Veil to hit, and then I worked on adding some words to chapter 2. And then I wrote a little bit of something else, and I added 175 words to that. So I definitely hit and surpassed my 200 word goal. And it still doesn't feel like that many words, and I know that it's not, but I also know that the lower barrier to entry is going to keep me showing up more consistently, and that the word count that I'm hitting daily doesn't really matter as long as I'm showing up, because I made a whole video about it, breaking down that ideology, that showing up is more important than the amount of words because of how much, showing up can then impact your word count. So I have hit my word count for the day, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And now I need to make dinner and then head to my social plans. So I'm not sure if I'm going to talk to you guys anymore tonight, but I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Happy Sunday. Tonight is the Perseid meteor shower, and there's supposed to be 60 to 100 meteors an hour because it's peaking tonight and tomorrow night. So I'm going out deep into the mountains tonight with one of my friends. So I need to run to the grocery store because we're gonna make an apple crisp over the fire while we're waiting for it to get all dark out. And so I need to go to the grocery store, prep that, and write my 200 words all before we leave in a couple of hours. And potentially edit a YouTube video, but that is probably the last priority. Apple crisp is gonna come first, and then my 200 words, and then the YouTube video. Okay, so now we're leaving sooner than originally anticipated. So I prepped the apples. So I've not yet done my 200 words of writing. So I'm going to bring my computer with me, but because we're not staying overnight, I think that's gonna be fine. So I'm bringing my computer and a book to read while we're waiting for it to get dark. I think we're also doing ramen for dinner because we're leaving at 5:30, but I have the apples prepped. I have the apple crisp topping prepped, and I'm so excited to eat campfire apple crisp. Thanks. The meteor shower was really cool last night. The apple crisp turned out amazing, but I got back at like 2:30, went to bed at like 3:30, and then the fire alarm in my building went off at 6:30, and then I got a couple more hours of sleep and I have a meeting, and I just feel so tired and so out of it. But I know today's gonna be a great day regardless. I have writing group later, so things are all gonna work out. But I'm very, very tired and trying to get my voice to wake up before my meeting. It's now somehow 7 p.m., but I just got to writing group. I am so tired. My meeting earlier was fine, and then I've been like working pretty much since then, both working on my social media management stuff and working on editing and scheduling YouTube videos, which felt really good to like get a couple done. And I don't know if I ever ended up saying this or not yesterday, but I ended up working on my Veil project by the campfire, and I got 353 words, which is now 2 days in a row of writing and hitting above that 200 word goal. And I feel like lowering my word count expectancy is making, I know I said this earlier, but like the barrier to entry is lower, so it feels a lot more attainable to sit down and do a little bit of work instead of sitting down and feeling like I have to do like 1,000 words, which has like never been my official goal. But sometimes with drafting, it just feels so slow that it just feels like a very healthy reminder that, you know what, showing up is what's important. So that is what I'm going to do this evening, is, you know, shoot for that 200 word goal. I probably should spend some time on Pinterest and make a Pinterest board for this story because I don't have one yet, but I'll update you guys with how this goes after writing group. I'm now back from writing group. I ended up doing like 40 minutes of brainstorming, primarily on Pinterest, but as I was brainstorming, I was like jotting down ideas. And I got 331 words in the Veil project that was like strictly brainstorming. It was just like jotting down ideas of what could happen in the story to make it more interesting. And I felt like as I was pinning like pictures on Pinterest, every picture I pinned, the story got bigger, which is not necessarily what I want for this story. This is like my palette cleanser after finishing Project DE. I want this story to be like short and sweet, not sweet, but you know, the phrase short and sweet. I want this book to like be like 30 to 40,000 words total, maybe. I don't know. I want it to be short, basically. And so every idea that I was pinning that was like making the story bigger, I was just like, you know what? Nope. We're still just like trying to focus in on this like palette cleanser project. If it turns into something bigger, that's fine. But as it currently stands, I know the last line of Veil, and I would love to be able to finish a project in a matter of months. Just because DE took me like 4 years to write the rough draft of, I would just love to like write and finish something like quickly. And my fingers are crossed that that's going to be the Veil project, especially if I have this like 200 words a day minimum word count goal. I probably shouldn't phrase minimum because then that's going back to implying that I need to write a lot. So my 200 word daily goal is just to like slowly pick away at this project so that I can finish it in a matter of months, which is a really exciting concept. And then I worked on a couple of other things, and then I started looking at Airbnb because those other things were annoying me. But then on my drive back from writing group, I was listening to one of the playlists that I have for one of my characters in DE. But as I was like flipping through it, a couple of the songs really resonated for my main character in the Veil project. So then I added those to that playlist, and I need to re-listen to those songs and like write some things down. And I actually just had an idea and I need to write that down. And as I've been working on this project, It's a lot of like, I mean, you guys saw a clip of like the Pinterest board so far, but the whole story happens in snow, basically, like in the mountains in winter. And so I'm sure I'm not done brainstorming at my like 335 words, my 331 words for the day. It's 11:59 p.m. So I'm gonna call my writing for tonight. I ended up with 546 words total, which is a number that I'm very, very happy with, and I will see you guys tomorrow. It's raining hard right now. Like, oh my gosh. I had 3 days where I did a really good job. I wrote over 300 words a day, like totally smashed my goal of wanting to do like at least 200 words a day. And then for the last 2 days, I haven't written anything, which was not really my hope with lowering my word count goal. I was trying to make it so that I would write more. And granted, 3 days in a row is significantly more than I've had in a while, but I want to fix that again and go back to the library today. The last 2 days were rather busy, but still not wanting to go without writing for like more than 2 days at a time. Ideally, not more than like a day at a time, but I know that that will change and not always be like crazy realistic, but I'm gonna go to the library to get some writing done today. I ended up working on a couple of things while I was at the library, but I must have been like ready to go on the Veil project or something, because in 30 minutes, I wrote over 700 words, which is like unheard of for me for drafting something, which felt so incredibly good considering that I felt so slow with this draft so far, just because it's my first time drafting something in like a while. But 700 words in half an hour is like incredible. I felt like my fingers were just flying across the keyboard. Well, I'm wearing the same outfit as yesterday. This is kind of like my new go-to comfy like writing outfit, but I'm going to a coffee shop with a friend of mine and we're gonna write at least 200 more words today, which will then bring me up to 5 days out of the last 7, which I think is pretty freaking good. Well, I would call that a very productive week. Today, I ended up writing 309 words in a different project and then 1,023 words in the Veil project. Editing Sara jumping in here, but I wanted to mention, because I didn't vlog it apparently, but on the day where I was able to write 1,000 words in my project Veil, I ended up taking that project from 5,000 words to 6,000 words, which meant that I added 1/6 of the story in a single day, which felt so freaking cool. And I totally forgot about that part of the drafting process where in the beginning, it feels like things are moving so quickly because, you know, if you have a page or two, you can pretty easily double what you have like the next day or whatever. And you can get that up to like 3 or 4 pages. And so being able to like look at the number jump, at least it felt so significant to jump from 5,000 to 6,000 words total in the project so far. I just thought that was really cool. And that's definitely not a feeling that I have when I'm going from like 118,000 words to 119,000 words. You know, those 1,000 words just like don't feel as significant then. Maybe not as significant. It's just, it doesn't feel like, you know, that number is moving as rapidly. But anyways, let's jump back to my thoughts about the week, which means that total for this week, I ended up writing 3,631 words. Across 5 days with my like word count minimum trying to stay at like 200-ish words, that's a huge week. Like that's a huge week regardless. So I encourage you, if you have not tried to lower your word count goal, maybe try lowering your word count goal, like lifting some of that stress off of yourself, and maybe you'll end up writing more. With that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.